Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking an absolutely fascinating narrative from a classical text known as the Brahmanimantanika Sutta. Imagine, if you will, a high-stakes cosmic debate. On one side, you've got a supreme deity who genuinely believes he is the ultimate eternal creator of the universe. And on the other side, an awakened sage, the Buddha, who shows up to just completely deconstruct that entire worldview. We're going to break down this incredible story step by step to see exactly how this clash of cosmic perspectives actually unfolds.
Right out of the gate, Baka Brahma makes this staggering claim. He states categorically that his realm is permanent, everlasting, stable, and strong. He's essentially declaring, I am the end of the line. There is no higher reality, no further escape from suffering than my domain. This bold assertion hooks us immediately, right? Because it perfectly sets up the core conflict of the entire text. It is the ultimate claim to absolute authority.
And that brings us to the worldview of Baka Brahma. The text doesn't present this as just some passing thought, but as a deeply entrenched philosophy. Baka Brahma looks around his magnificent, flawless-seeming realm and logically concludes, well, from his perspective anyway, that it simply must be eternal. He doesn't see birth, aging, or death anywhere around him, so he just assumes they don't exist there at all.
But then, the text introduces a profound cosmological intervention. The source tells us that the Buddha, who is residing in a completely different realm entirely, essentially reads Baka Brahma's mind. Recognizing that this incredibly powerful deity is trapped in a grand illusion of permanence, the Buddha instantly vanishes from his location and teleports directly into the Brahma world. Talk about a dramatic entrance. It's designed to confront this mistaken belief head-on.
Okay, let's dive into this. We're looking at a razor-sharp philosophical contrast here. On one hand, you have Baka Brahma's belief system, eternalism, the idea of being the absolute creator and the ultimate escape. On the other hand, we get the Buddha's precise diagnosis. The Buddha actually calls Baka Brahma's state avidya, or ignorance. He points out that despite all its unbelievable grandeur, the Brahma realm is still subject to the laws of impermanence. It is not the final escape. This is a massive, radical pushback against the absolute highest assumed authority in that cosmology.
So the intervention of Mara. Just as this profound debate is really getting started, the text throws us a massive plot twist. Mara, who is basically the personification of ego, temptation, and death in this framework, suddenly intervenes. But he doesn't just show up and introduce himself. No, the text describes Mara actually taking demonic possession of one of Baka Brahma's divine attendants to completely hijack the conversation.
Let's unpack the manipulative tactics Mara is using here. Speaking through this possessed attendant, Mara tries to silence the Buddha using a mix of fear and straight-up bribery. First, he reasserts that Brahma is the unquestioned creator. Second, he issues this really dark warning, claiming that previous ascetics who dared to criticize Brahma suffered terribly and fell to lower realms after they died. And finally, he promises that if the Buddha just goes along with it and agrees with Brahma, he's guaranteed a high, incredibly comfortable rebirth. It is a textbook mix of psychological pressure and the promise of status.
But the Buddha's response to this coercion, it's incredibly powerful. He speaks right past the possessed attendant and addresses Mara himself, saying, I am not in your hands. I have not fallen into your power. He completely sees through the illusion. He exposes Mara's hidden presence right then and there and firmly demonstrates that true awakening means you absolutely refuse to be controlled by fear, status, or deception.
Wisdom superior to Brahma. With Mara momentarily exposed, the text moves into its third major movement. We are now looking at a battle of wisdom, and the philosophical debate about the true structure of the universe deepens. Let's see how this builds into an incredible deconstruction of Baka Brahma's entire reality.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this specific number, 1,000. Baka Brahma is busy boasting about his all-encompassing power, but the Buddha counters by precisely measuring it. He tells Baka Brahma that his light and his authority actually only extend across 1,000 solar systems or galaxies. While that sounds unimaginably vast to us, in the context of infinite cosmology, it completely undermines Baka Brahma's belief in his own universal, limitless dominance. He's a big fish, sure, but he is still just in a pond.
To prove his point, the Buddha walks Baka Brahma through this cosmic map. He shows that he knows the lower elements perfectly. He knows Baka Brahma's realm perfectly. But then, he just keeps going. He lists the Abhasara realm, the Subhakina realm, and the Vehapahala realm. These are dimensions of existence entirely above and beyond Baka Brahma's own awareness. And finally, at the very top of it all, he lists ultimate liberation, or nirvana,
which completely transcends every single one of them.
This leads to a truly fascinating psychological detail in the text. You might be wondering, why didn't Baka Brahma know about these higher realms? Well, the Buddha explains that Baka Brahma actually originally fell from the higher Abhasara realm into his current position. But because his lifespan in this new realm was so incredibly long, his memory literally faded. Extreme longevity led to complete amnesia. He forgot his own origin, and by extension, his own impermanence.
And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate goal described in the text. The Buddha contrasts all those physical and divine realms with nirvana. He defines it with two very specific terms: anidasana, meaning it's invisible or beyond standard consciousness, and anatta, meaning infinite, entirely beyond the cycle of arising and passing away. It is completely separate from the earth, water, fire, and even the divine beings themselves. It is, quite simply, absolute freedom. The supernatural vanishing contest. Realizing he's losing the intellectual debate, Baka Brahma decides to shift tactics entirely. The narrative transitions to a dramatic climax. If knowledge can't prove who is superior, perhaps a raw display of mystical power will.
I want you to consider a question right alongside the audience in this story. Who holds the true ultimate power? Is it the being who claims to have created the physical universe? Or is it the sage who claims to have mastered his own mind and transcended the universe entirely?
The source text describes the outcome of this contest quite plainly. Baka Brahma confidently declares he's going to vanish from the Buddha's sight. He tries, but he fails completely. He remains fully visible to absolutely everyone. Then the Buddha takes his turn. He effortlessly vanishes from the sight of Baka Brahma and his entire assembly. His body is completely gone, but his voice continues to echo through the realm, delivering a teaching. It's a vivid, undeniable display of superior mastery.
While completely invisible, the Buddha makes this profound declaration. Seeing danger in existence, I do not praise any existence. This is highly significant. Even while demonstrating godlike power in a divine realm, the Buddha absolutely refuses to celebrate or become attached to that power or that realm. He ties the miracle directly back to his core philosophical theme. True freedom requires letting go of attachment to any form of existence, no matter how magnificent it might seem.
Victory over Mara and defilements. This incredible display brings us to the final section of our explainer, the ultimate resolution of the conflict. The Buddha has thoroughly deconstructed Baka Brahma's worldview through both superior wisdom and superior mastery. But there's one last loose end to tie up, and that's the lingering presence of Mara, the very embodiment of ignorance and limitation.
Seeing that intimidation totally failed, Mara tries a desperate final tactic. He appeals to complacency. Mara speaks up again and essentially says, okay, fine, you figured it all out, you're fully enlightened, so why bother teaching anyone else? Just live comfortably here in the present moment. Keep quiet and don't exert yourself. Mara realizes he can't trap the Buddha, so his absolute last resort is trying to stop the Buddha from helping anyone else escape the trap.
So, the crucial point is reached in the Buddha's final rebuttal. He completely rejects Mara's logic. He asserts that as a fully awakened Sammasambuddha, his very nature is to teach and liberate. He calls out Mara's true motivation, which is simply to keep beings trapped in the cycle of suffering. And most importantly, the Buddha declares that all his mental defilements, those underlying taints or asavas, have been permanently, irreversibly eradicated. To make absolutely sure there's no misunderstanding about what this permanent eradication really means, the text provides a vivid agricultural metaphor. The Buddha compares his mind to a palm tree that has been cut off entirely at the crown. Unlike other trees that might sprout new branches from a stump, a palm tree cut at the crown is completely dead. It can never, ever grow again. That is the exact state of the Buddha's defilements. They are uprooted with absolute, unshakable finality.
Which brings us to our final takeaway. True peace isn't found by searching for some eternal, perfect realm on the outside, because, as the text argues, such a place simply doesn't exist. Instead, unshakable peace is found in the complete liberation of your own mind. It really leaves us with a provocative question to ponder. Are we wasting our lives trying to control and stabilize the ever-changing world around us, or are we finally ready to step up and master the world within? Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the Brahmanimantanika Sutta. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next explainer.